Alright, welcome back to part 2. Now we're going to put the whole kit and caboodle together. First thing I'm going to do is install the CD DVD drive. It is recordable. It says E-green. I wonder if it saves on power consumption by being a little green for us. Put it in, line up the holes. Find what I did with my screwdriver. There we go. Before we came back on here, I was taking a look. The faceplate for the tower has two wide open spots for the two drive bays. So we went ahead and left the old secondary drive bay in just to keep it as a sealed box basically. And then we also noticed that the new drive is quite shorter than the original. Shouldn't make any difference in the way it sits with the front case foot cover on it. So that's installed. Next, I'm going to go ahead and install the motherboard prior to me putting the hard drive in. Based on what type of box you have, it might be easier to install the hard drive, might not, but in my case I'm just going to go ahead and install the motherboard first. A little bit of a tight squeeze with the power supply there. There we go. So as I was talking about it being a little tight squeeze, when I pulled out the other motherboard, I had already unscrewed the power supply and had moved it up, so that's why it wasn't such a tight squeeze when I pulled it out. So if you want, you can go ahead and leave the power supply unscrewed until you get the motherboard in. Then we're just going to verify that the back panel lines up with its faceplate. This is being a little difficult to me. Mainly the HDMI port's little connector was initially trying to go into the HDMI port. Another thing before you go and purchase all your parts, the way I verified which motherboard I needed for this, I measured the motherboard and just did an internet search on what size it was. For this tower, it's a mini ATX. So if you're not buying a tower and you don't know what size motherboard it takes, easiest thing, just measure and verify which one it is. There are many different sizes of motherboards. The full size ATX is 12 inches by 8.5 or something like that. This one's almost a perfect square at 9 by 9, I believe is what it is. 8x8 or something. So just verify which one it is that you have. So, I was going to go ahead and install the hard drive now, but I think what I'm going to do is go ahead and start connecting some of these wires. And before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and we need to secure that motherboard down. This comes with 7 screws. Don't over tighten it, just nice little hand tight. The last thing you want to do is think that it needs to be tighter and you go a little too far and you crack your motherboard and you're out that money and you're out your computer until you can order yourself a new motherboard. That's something I wouldn't want to have to deal with. So as of right now, you guys are just seeing a general idea of what I'm doing. Once I get everything installed, I will grab the camera and do a better view of connectors and how everything is laid out in here. This also had its own secondary fan. So I am going to go ahead and install that now. Depending on which you're going to use your PC for will determine a lot of what parts, what processor, what type of memory you get, what type of power supply you get and everything. This is for my dad, and he doesn't game, he doesn't watch videos or anything like that, so we went with a very basic yet good speed that he can do what he needs to. If you're looking to run, a PC for gaming where it's got great graphics, even possibly 3D graphics, you'll want to associate your motherboard and processor and your RAM all to what you're looking to do, and the power supply for that matter. This has obviously the fan in the power supply, the chassis fan that I'm installing now, and then you got the heatsink and fan on the processor. If you're a hardcore gamer and want to do other things to help keep it cool, they do have actual fluid intercoolers they can install. Some cases, that when you look at purchasing a case, actually has a specific slot and area that you can add an intercooler to. So what I'm going to do